Well, staying with the ongoing drama surrounding the BC port strike, the Greater Vancouver Board of Trade has said that the strike, which previously stopped work at the ports in BC from July 1st to the 13th, has affected around $10 billion in traded goods so far. Now, that's not the only case of labor unrest in recent months. Workers at grocery chain Metro came close to a strike earlier this week. And of course, federal workers went on strike back in April. What is driving this labor action among workers, and could there be more unrest ahead? For more, joining us now is Larry Savage, professor of labor studies at Brock University. Larry, thanks so much for making time for us today.
Thanks for having me.
First, I just hope to get your thoughts on the situation unfolding in BC, because it has been, well, it seems a bit complicated from the outside, in the sense that, there was a mediated deal. This deal didn't even go to the workers. The labor, or rather the union leaders decided to reject it, and then a strike, and then not a strike, and then maybe they're going to look at this deal again. Is this an unusual series of events?
Well, it's been a bit of a roller coaster ride. There's no question about it. It's uncommon for a union's bargaining team to reach a tentative agreement that is not then ratified. But it's not unusual that there's an extra layer of union leadership that has to look at the deal and vet the deal before it goes to members. And so there's obviously some tension within the union there about how good the deal is at delivering on members' interests. And again, the strike being on, the strike being off, there are obviously some strategic questions that are going on in the back rooms.
How do you think that the federal government has handled this so far? I mean, they did go ahead with this mediator to come to the deal, but otherwise, I mean, they've been pushed to try to, pursue back to work legislation, but haven't, gone forward with that just yet.
Yeah, well, perhaps unsurprisingly, I think the federal government is being driven primarily by political considerations. And the Liberals in particular, I think, are struck between a rock and a hard place. On one hand, they don't want to legislate an end to the strike because there's a question about the constitutional validity of back to work legislation. Workers have the right to strike enshrined in the Constitution in Canada. But the other thing is they don't want to have to ally themselves with Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives to push through back to work legislation and extinguish the strike, because that is a gift to their political opponents. And of course, Canadian politics more recently has been polarized between these two big parties. The last thing Justin Trudeau wants is the perception that he's in bed with the Conservatives.
How high is the bar for back to work legislation? What would the government have to, prove perhaps in order to say that this is necessary?
Well, I think that a high bar for back to work legislation to justify it in a constitutional sense would have to be that there was some kind of risk to the public, health and safety risk to the public. That's why firefighters and police officers, for example, don't have the right to strike. But I don't know if what's happening at the port rises to that bar. There's no question that it has been disruptive economically, but that is the point of strikes. They're supposed to be disruptive economically. That is what's supposed to bring the parties together in order to compromise and craft a deal.
Yeah, that's a great point. And it seems like more union members are seeing, the potential in pursuing this lately. I mean, we did get through the possibility of the Metro grocery workers strike. That doesn't look like it's an issue at this point. But the federal workers, government workers, did strike back in April. In the U.S., there's also a lot of threats of a possibility of strike. We've got the UPS workers, the Detroit Big Three auto workers. There's a lot of contract negotiations in the works still. Do you think that there's, other than the fact that the high cost of living is driving people to want more from their employers, is there, something else happening with this labor movement?
I think there's a combination of things. There's no question there's a red hot labor summer across North America. But that's because it's being driven, one, by inflation and persistently high inflation in recent years. But secondly, I think there's a sense coming out of the pandemic that workers expect more from their jobs. A lot of frontline workers in particular were heralded as heroes during the pandemic for going in to work every day, but they don't feel respected when they look at their paychecks at the end of the day. Workers, I think, lost a lot of their purchasing power over the course of the last number of years, and they have been falling behind. They're looking to their unions as vehicles to improve their terms and conditions of work and to get ahead. And that's why we're seeing labor disputes, because the unions have rediscovered the right to strike. They know that they can put pressure on employers to redistribute wealth, give back some of those profits. In the case of the BC port in particular, remember the top 5 employers that are part of that BC Maritime Employers Association, they made over $100 billion in profits in last year alone. So it's not about an ability to pay. The strike could be resolved if those companies just met the union's demands. And that's why this strike is kind of perplexing. The union is clearly saying, we made all of these profits for you. Now start redistributing that to folks so that they can afford to buy homes in Metro Vancouver and to have a standard of living that's acceptable to them and their families.
Do you think we're going to see more workers interested in the possibility of unionization as they watch, people picket? Hollywood actors, writers are on the picket lines right now. Do you think that might inspire other groups to be pursuing this?
I think so, but it will all depend on unions' ability to actually deliver the goods. If unions are seen as effective vehicles to actually redistribute wealth from profits and put it into the pocketbooks of workers, that I think you will absolutely see more workers demonstrate an interest in unions and unionization. And I also think you see a renewed sense of militancy. People are willing to fight back nowadays in a way that they weren't just a few years ago. The rate of strikes in Canada is certainly it's gone up a little bit this year, but at the all-time high of the 1970s, we're still a very far way off of that. It's been in decline over several decades. And right now, because there's a little spark of interest, we've taken notice. But there's still a long way to go for unions to catch up, to bargain wages that outstrip inflation. And it'll be what they are able to do at the bargaining table, I think, that'll demonstrate to the public their worth.
And Larry, just quickly, do you think that the port strike is going to stretch on, or do you think that there's going to be a resolution here quickly?
Well, the fact that the union reissued a 72-hour notice and pulled it back maybe suggests that some people got nervous in the last few minutes. It's still too early to tell. The hammer of back-to-work legislation is still there. I only hope that there's a negotiated settlement, because those are always better than imposed settlements.
Larry, great to